And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Friday, June 14th, game 4 of the NBA Finals, potentially the final basketball game of this NBA season. The Boston Celtics are 1-point favorites in Dallas with a 211 total. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Shout out to us for having the Pinehurst promo, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I'm Josh Engleman. I'm here to break it all down. And it's going to be a very, very interesting game. We do have Kristaps Porzingis listed as questionable for right now. I think the general consensus is that he is just simply not playing. So we are treating all of this as if KP isn't going to be in for this one. But we might be done. This might be the end of basketball for the rest of the year. And that's kind of a bummer. I'm going to miss it, that's for sure. I know I don't want it to be done, but it's looking like we're going to be done here. I'm just checking off a couple extra lineups. I've got the Stochastic Sims run. I'm in the process of running my own. We could take a look at all of this slate because I think we have a lot of questions that we need to answer for today. Let's go like that. There we go. I think we got a lot of questions because the rotations in the last game were weird. And figuring out what they're going to do today feels even weirder. So we're going to have to try to break that down. I'm going to see if my sim is done yet. It's on its final step, so that's good. That'll help. So first and foremost, what's good, y'all? How do we think this bad boy's going to break down? Because Dallas did some weird stuff. For example, Tim Hardaway Jr. played 19 and a half minutes in game 3. The problem is that he sucks. 19 and a half minutes, minus 16 for the game. The Dallas Mavericks were not very good when Tim Hardaway Jr. was on the floor. And the question then becomes, is Dallas looking at this? Do they stop this silly Tim Hardaway Jr. experience? Do they go to Exum? Do they go to Maxey? Do they go to Jaden Hardy? What are they about to do here? Because I don't have a great feel. I didn't expect those sorts of minutes in game 3 for Hardaway, and I don't expect him to get them again in game 4 based on the way that he performed. It was ultra bad. Ultra bad. Now, that extra 4 minutes at the end that he picked up, that really only happened because Luka fouled out. So, you don't necessarily expect those minutes. But even if you just use the 15 that he played prior to that, I mean, at 15 minutes, you're playing a lot of Tim Hardaway Jr. today. The question is, does he play 15 or 0? My answer is 0. I have no idea how you could possibly want to play Tim Hardaway Jr. The Dallas Mavericks were on a 22-2 run, basically until the moment that Luka fouled out. At that spot, they were -4 in the 4 minutes that Tim Hardaway Jr. played, and that was just the end of it. So let's talk through a little bit about this Dallas rotation. Obviously, we're getting huge minutes out of Kyrie. We're getting huge minutes out of Luka. We're going to get huge minutes out of PJ Washington. And we know Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively are going to be playing a lot of minutes at the 5. Lively, in particular, played 30 last time out. 16 for Gafford. Didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. That balance is a different question in its entirety. But what are we doing with Derek Jones Jr., who played 16 minutes in game 3? Jaden Hardy played 4. Exum played 3. Kleba played 8. Hardy played 4. Josh Green didn't play in the first quarter, then played like a 6+ minute rotation in the second quarter, and then played the final 16 minutes of the game. How do we read into that? I don't know what the hell to do with Dallas, because Boston's nothing. We know how to project Boston now. We know it's Horford, Brown, Tatum, Holiday, White. We know that Tillman is the next guy up, especially after how he played. Hauser hit his threes. Pritchard will play a small amount. Boston set in stone. Dallas, Good luck. So I'm going to throw these questions to you guys because I think it's better to have a bit of an interaction for this one. Does Derek Jones Jr.'s playing time recover? Let's start there. Dude's projected for dude played 16 minutes. I put him in for 30 today. Do I like that? No. But the moment you start taking minutes away from Derek Jones Jr., you got to figure out a place to put him. And at that point, you're like, okay, well, I guess it's Maxey or Hardy or Exum or Green or Hardaway. And it's just like, well, shit. None of that makes sense. Should we be projecting Josh Green for 20 minutes and Derek Jones Jr. for like 26? That doesn't feel right. It seems like Derek Jones Jr. gets most of his playing time back. But who are we taking it from? I'm fascinated by Dallas. So I believe my sim just finished. It did. So let me refresh my file and we could take a look at what I'm getting so far. If Demetrius, if Jones, Gafford, Green, and Kleba beat me, they beat me. Yeah, I mean, one of those guys is going to beat you. You can't lop off 4 dudes, including 2 of the 3 centers, and think you've got the pack. Like, I mean, you can, but you're running out of minutes for Dallas at that point. All right, let me get my stuff refreshed, and we could take a little bit of a peek at what we've got so far. Because I have no concept of where I'm going, and I'm interested to see sort of what sort of path my data is sending me on. All right, so as I refresh, where do we stand? I can make this a lot bigger for you guys. There we go. All right, too big. Perfect. All right, so first draft. If I had to enter a contest in the next 30 seconds, this is what we'd be looking at. Heavy stands at the captain spot for Boston. Lots of Al Horford. Lots of Derek White. A decent enough amount of Drew Holiday. Right now, my stance is 68% of my captain ownership to White, Holiday, and Horford. Yeah, I definitely don't trust Demetrius. I definitely don't trust Josh Green. He was bad. I don't care if he was +3. Defensively, he was whiffing a lot late. But they ran out of options. I'd trust him a lot more if they played him in the first 18 minutes of the game, which was the scariest part. So where do we stand here at captain? Because we've got 20% ownership coming into Luka. We've got 18 coming into Kyrie. We've got another 15 coming into Jaylen Brown. We've got 11 going into PJ Washington. I think it's easier to pay down to those extra Boston dudes, White, Holiday, and Horford. I think that frees up a lot of salary. Because at least when it comes to the captain spot, we're not really worried about the question mark dudes. Those are the guys that we're worried about at the utility. But at captain, you don't really have a ton of options. I mean, if we're just going to go based on ownership, Luka, Kyrie, PJ Washington, Jason Tatum, that's 65%. Add Jaylen Brown if you want. Add Drew and Derek White. I mean, you're up to 87. Like, I'm not super worried about the minutes for everybody else when it comes to this captain stuff. I'm finding Kyrie hard to get to given his current ownership. Could see that climb a little bit later. But I'm more likely to get to Luka at the captain than I am Kyrie, just based on this data that I'm looking at to start. Derek White at 7% owned at the captain. That would be fun. I think that's a good sneak spot. Interesting balance of salary. You know, he's 11-1 at captain, 7,400 at utility. I'm happy hitching my wagon to Derek White. Right now, it's a lot of Boston captain and a little bit more of Dallas utility. So I'm having no trouble getting to Luka at utility, getting to Kyrie at utility. I'm aggressively fading PJ Washington, which is okay to me. Light on both Lively and Gafford. Now, that's a little scary to me. I tend to want to get one of them. But my biggest problem right now, and I think this is the guy that we need to talk about, I don't know what to do with Derek Jones Jr. We currently have him projected for 20% ownership. I'm getting 50 plus. And it all comes down to what in the world do we think Derek Jones Jr.'s minutes are going to look like? Because I never expected a scenario where Derek Jones Jr. was going to play 16 minutes last time out. I didn't think that was possible. But I think we have to assume he's playing like north of 24. Do you guys think Derek Jones Jr.'s minutes are going to get cut again? Do I think what was smart? Do I think it was smart for Dallas to play Lively that much? They didn't really have a choice, but yes. Michael Thomas, thank you very much. The other real question we have here is, are Josh Green's minutes real? Because he's 3K. But if we're thinking about it like that, 3K, 9% owned. I didn't give Josh Green 22 minutes today. I gave Josh Green 17 minutes. That's 5 less. Just assume that he doesn't close and he loses those 5 minutes. That's 17. If he's playing 17 minutes today at 9% owned, he's absolutely my favorite utility play. That ownership doesn't seem right. But it's the Derek Jones Jr. piece. So Jesus says, who soaked up Jones's minutes? I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. to a degree. Obviously, these guys aren't the same position, but Hardaway playing 19 minutes is not what we expected. Lively playing 30 is not what we expected. And then sort of Josh Green soaked up some of that Derek Jones Jr. run. But I'm nervous to go back to Exum because they don't seem to want to go that direction. I'm nervous to go to Hardy. If Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to be 11%, I'm going to run away from that. I'm going to assume that they see what I saw in game 3 and that you just can't go to Tim Hardaway. I mean, he was 0 for 5 from the field. He had 3 rebounds and he was minus 16. I don't know how you run that back out there. I'm going to get that tattoo at some point in time, yeah. We've got Peyton Pritchard projected for 20% ownership and Hauser at 8. I unequivocally want more Hauser than Pritchard there, which, by the way, I had equal amounts of Pritchard and Hauser in the last slate, and I had the nut lineup, but randomly it had Pritchard over Hauser instead of Hauser, which would have been the win. So that sucked. Because that's just randomness. So that was not fun. But I'm definitely going to Hauser over Pritchard, given that ownership, especially in a situation where I think they want to play Hauser more and play Pritchard less. You've got Tillman sitting there at 2,600. Everything he did went perfectly in game 3, so I'm okay not having him. And then for the rest of Boston, Tatum, Brown, White, Holiday, Horford, those guys you just have to have. Like, pretty much you're going to get around 30% of those guys no matter what. I think the entire slate hinges upon what you want to do with Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, Derek Jones Jr., Josh Green, and then the rest of the random idiots from Dallas. So who do you guys like? Who are the guys from Dallas that aren't Luka and Kyrie? Like, who are the guys that you think are the difference makers in the utility spot today? Who are the bench dudes for Dallas, or like the non-star dudes for Dallas that you guys have your eye on? I'm going to pull up the stochastic sims and see what we have. So at the captain, there's not even much to talk about. It's Jason Tatum. It's Jaylen Brown. It's Luka Doncic. It's Kyrie Irving. We're not getting funny with the captain spot. Flex, Luka, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, PJ Washington. This is the first one we want to talk about. Daniel Gafford at the flex, 38% owned, 38% exposure. So we're not struggling to get there. Lighter on Hauser than I was expected. Way heavier on Peyton Pritchard than I was expecting. Not sure I agree with any of that. But Lively's neutral. Tillman's still getting there. I'm not seeing it. Like, that's pretty cut and dry. Other than a big Jaylen Brown stand. This might be the night THJ goes off. I just don't know how they play him. I don't know how you can justify playing Tim Hardaway Jr. at this point. He's terrible. He's terrible. He was terrible in the game. Like, I don't know how that could be the guy that you go to. Someone from Jaden Hardy, Maxi Kleber, Dante Exum, and Tim Hardaway to a degree. One of those guys is going to play like 16 minutes. And I don't know who that is. I feel like Josh Green's more look, if Josh Green's 9% owned, it doesn't matter what I'm thinking right now. That's just the value play you want to get to. After that, it's figuring out Hardaway, Kleber, Exum, Hardy. You can't justify playing any Dallas bench players. Couldn't disagree more. That's exactly who you have to be playing today. And then we also have to be ready for the scenario where the first half doesn't go well for Dallas. This game ends early, and the final 6 minutes of the game are played with Jaden Hardy and Dante Exum and O'Shea Brissett, and we start wondering who is closing in a blowout. Because once it goes downhill, it's going to go extra downhill. But it doesn't have to. Dallas could just win, and this goes back to Boston, and they win it on their home floor. But I see the big decision points as figuring out center for Dallas and then figuring out who is the bench guy. And right now, I'm leaning Maxey and Josh Green. I wanted a lot of Exum last time out. They went to Hardaway Jr. over him. I still think they should go to Exum. I think he's the best option of anybody that's there. But it doesn't seem like Jason Kidd feels the same way. Hauser, Kleber, Josh Green. That's the value stands that I'm taking. Not Tillman, not Pritchard, not Hardaway, not Hardy. Dallas bench is a mess. It's a big mess. But this is DFS. This is a game of probabilities, and we're looking to maximize our value. So it's not like you can just ignore it, because someone's going to be there for it. Biggest fade for me right now is PJ Washington. I'm fine with that. This does not appear to be a series for him. I don't mind it. If he's going to be 60% owned, 50 in the utility, 11 at captain, I will happily be light there. But I think the only real talking points at this point are the Dallas bench guys. And it just seems impossible to have any sort of confidence in what we're doing. Like, we're basically right around the field here. There's not a lot of leverage wiggle room from the exposure we have in the pool ownership that we have here. Now, Stochastic Sim is ranking it Josh Green, Tim Hardaway, Maxey, and then Hardy. I think it's more Josh Green, Maxey, Hardaway, Hardy. Kleber or Tillman? I would rather have Kleber given the ownership. Yeah, I would rather have Kleber given the ownership. If Kleber's going to be 5% and Tillman's going to be 14%, I'll take my chances on Maxey. Anything I like for DraftKings? I mean, this whole entire show has been talking about DraftKings, so maybe. Most exposed guy for me right now is Luka Doncic, so let's hope that guy can get himself back in the optimal lineup, because that didn't happen last time out. But look how flat I am on Boston. 50 to Tatum, 50 to Brown, 50 to White, 40 to Holiday, 50 to Horford. Like, that's just 250% across all 5 guys. It's just casting that net. But it's so different on Dallas. Luka 80, Kyrie 50, Washington 20, Lively 20, Gafford 20, and then it's this giant stand on Dallas bench options. It all makes, like, I think Derek Jones Jr. gets his minutes back. I think he has to. Did I agree with the Luka foul? I mean, yeah, it was a foul. I don't even think it's up for debate. So basically play everybody? Yeah, I mean, it's a showdown. You play everybody that can play. I think Derek Jones Jr. gets his minutes back. I think you end up seeing Gafford around 20, Lively in that 26 range. I think Josh Green around 16 to 18 makes sense, which makes him wildly underowned. Maxi's just gross, but if he's 5% owned, we're running out of choices. Like, if Maxi's going to be 5% owned and Jaden Hardy's going to be 5% owned, I'm going to take my chances on the guy that I expect to play a couple extra minutes. I don't know how you go to Pritchard. Minutes aren't going up. This is a bad series for him because he is going to get picked on defensively. If Peyton Pritchard's 20% owned and Sam Hauser's 8%, it's got to be Hauser. I feel like I don't have anything else to touch on. So we got to talk about one thing. I know the US Open is on right now. It is round 2, but you can still get a week of the Stochastic PGA Sims Max package for $14.95 using the promo code Pinehurst. You can use it right now for round 3 and round 4 showdown. You can then, if you have it for a week, you can still use it for next week's tournament. Very easy. This code works through Sunday. So you have a day or two to still use this if you want, but I would expect you to want to get in right now. At the very least, get in for the weekend showdowns. Going to be plenty of money to go around on the PGA side. There is a link in the description of this video if you're looking to sign up for the Sims Max package for PGA. Again, $14.95 using the promo code Pinehurst. Guys, I think I'm out of stuff to say. Number 1 lineup coming out of the Stochastic Sims. We could take a look at that. Luka Doncic captain, Lively, Jones Jr., White, Brown, and Pritchard. That is the highest Sim ROI lineup that we have. The highest Sim ROI at the captain spot individually is Jaylen Brown. And he's on an island. Then it's Tatum and Luka after that, with Horford coming in 4th. Interesting to see. At the flex, your best options, Jaylen Brown, Derek Jones Jr., and based on Stochastic Sims, Peyton Pritchard. But I love Derek Jones Jr. seems to be the sneak play for me at the utility spot. Is Luka captain going to be 20% or 11%? 20%. Fade Luka, go Tatum, Brown, White, Horford. That's an interesting game script. Do you guys have any other questions about what this game is for today? Because I'm running, I think we've hit on the main story, which is figuring out the Dallas bench. And Eric and I will certainly hit on that tonight at 8 p.m. We have a ton of shows for you guys coming up. So let me hit you with our schedule for the rest of the day before we get out of here. MLB Strategy Show coming up next, 11 a.m. Eastern. Lofty and Matt Bellman breaking down today's baseball slate. You get Greg and Bellman back today at 6 for MLB Live Before Lock. Myself and Eric will be back at 8 o'clock for NBA Live Before Lock. And then Greg and I will be live on playback at 8:30, taking you all the way until the end of the first half and maybe more if the game is looking good. Nuke of the night, Derek Jones Jr. I mean, no. Alrighty, folks. I think we've reached the end of the line. If it's over today, it's been a hell of a year between the process, the strategy show, deeper dives, and live before locks. I've had a great time talking NBA for these past 6 months. This might be it. You might not see me again on an NBA show until October. Although I'll probably... No, I won't. I won't be able to hop on for free agency like I've done in the past. I'm going to be in Ireland while free agency and Austria while free agency is happening. So that won't be fun. But yeah, this might be it. If it's not, then Monday morning, bright and early, 10 a.m., we will be here breaking down Game 5 back in Boston. Guys, give me the pick. Who wins today? Is this series over? Or are we going to get Game 5 in Boston on Monday? What's the answer, folks? News God says it's over. Jack Adams says it's over. Fat Star says it's over. Jesus is hoping for Game 5. Demetrius is saying Dallas wins. Mitch says Boston. Porzingis says sweep. Coach Chris says Boston. Valentino says we'll see you Monday. We shall find out. But I will definitely see you guys tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time for NBA Live Before Lock. Good luck tonight, everybody. Go Derek Jones Jr. Peace.